can't take credit for any of these views. I stole most of these from Val because she's
Okay.
like a little wizard when it comes to figuring out this stuff. But the test conducted, this is how it kind of filters out the NPIP stuff. Most of your NPIP stuff is serology, right? So it's going to be
Okay.
AGIDs and stuff like that. In most states, that's most of your NPIP stuff is that way. And if it's not associated with a being under investigation, it's not going to pick up any of your routine NPIP stuff either, because none of those premises that are routinely tested for NPIP are going to be under investigation unless they're in a control area or if they have permitting going on. Okay. So
Well, I've still got to create a investigation on this one premise. So I need to go in and create an investigation on the premise that I know that's sending samples right now to the lab, and they're in the surveillance zone, and I've only created investigations so far in the control area, right? So I need to go in and create an investigation on the one that wants to do the permit to send eggs into the control area.
okay, well, let's back up.
Okay.
Do we have an active control area yet? Do we have a positive
Yes.
test?
Yes, I've got the control area set up, and I've already issued investigations on the ones in the control area, and I've already put a prem status of quarantine on the hatchery, and the eggs are wanting to. So this guy's in the surveillance zone, and he's wanting to move eggs to the hatchery.
Which is in
the control area.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I did verify his coordinates and all that crap yesterday, but I have not put an investigation or anything on it yet.
Right. The investigation will get created whenever the permit process goes through.
Okay, because that's why I hadn't done it, because I thought, now that might automatically happen when they do that other stuff. So
and that'll happen whenever the permitting stuff for the destination and the origin prem. Investigations get placed on both of those premises, the investigation and the origin, whenever that permit goes through. So
okay, so I've done all I need to do as far as like making sure the premises is correct.
That's correct.
Okay, good deal.
There's some other things that we can look at too. So, wow, sorry, that sucks.
Did you?
What
sucks?
That you got it. I thought that you had something going to the lab that you didn't have a non-negative from Anolin yet. I didn't think it was that bad, but I'm sorry. That's what I was getting at. So anyway, let's go. Let's knock these LMS session part out, and then we can go and I can show you some little tips and tricks on the control area stuff too. So, so basically that's the query for this view is that's what it pulls. It pulls anything that has avian influenza or flu, and so it pulls those tests. Any of those test categories, it pulls them into this view. And then this is where right here is where you could differentiate the ones that are in the zones versus the ones that are in the permits. But the way this view is set up is that it encompasses everything. And that's one of those things that you will, as you go through and start verifying, especially if you have a bunch of premises in a control area, that's when you want to kind of separate those out to where you can work on those LMS sessions that are associated with the control area first. And then when you have time, you can go back to the ones that are permitted. They have a little bit less priority, I guess, is what I would say from a DRO standpoint, because once that control area is open, then you're going to be tracking the number of times these guys get tested. And, once the IBE is completed in that 14-day window and all that brouhaha that you already know about.
Control area release. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, exactly. So there's an end goal for that. So, and then depending on how many commercial prems are in the control area, depends on what your workload's going to be like every day as far as the LMS sessions. Okay. So, but that's how you could filter that out, is with this right here. You just take that clause out, and it would only get you the ones that are in a control area of infected buffer or surveillance. In your surveillance zone, you know that that's not a movement controlled zone, but it will put investigations on all of those places, just to be able to put that surveillance prim status on there. So anyway, I say all of that to let you know you can change the date. I mean, we can change the date on this. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to make this view for Alabama. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select Alabama, and I'm going to remove Mississippi. And then we'll put the date as starting today's date. Do what now?
You want to put last Thursday?
Okay.
When we got confirmed, well, we got results, I think, Thursday.
We'll back it up to the 25th, that Wednesday, just to be on the safe side. And then we're going to save this as Alabama, owner after in 3. All right, and we'll save that. And then I'll come here. Oh, where was that? Let's see.
Yeah, a few.
Do what now?
You got a few views there.
Yeah. I got a lot of few views here. All right, let me refresh real quick. All right. And this is I use this view to, this is the work that you have to do every day, because it's the filter says not verified. So these are the ones that you haven't verified yet. So this is kind of your working view, if that makes sense. And then as soon as you go through the process and you verify them, they'll drop off of this list. And then that's why I have, there it is. That's why I have another view that has everything that's verified, so you can go back and forth and kind of double check your stuff. And look, I'm going to give you read, write, delete, and share. This is your view. Okay. If you delete it, I don't care. So
I promise I won't be deleting it.
All right, so that's that one. And then I have another one. Let's open. So I have get it just right. Oh my God, I can't get it to sit
Come on, there you go.
There we go. All right, so not verified and then verified. And then Brian usually will make these two. You can use these two, and it's just as a different, he uses OID codes, and those OID codes are starting to change. And that's what the lab uses. The OID code is what the lab uses for that specific test. The view that I'm sharing with you is a little bit more broad than the OID. And that way, if there's something that, they put an OID code in wrong or something at the lab to message it, it'll still catch it. So that's why I like using that. But there's nothing wrong with using the OID code ones that Brian has made. And he'll probably make some for Alabama too, as soon as they're made aware of it, and he'll start going in there and making all kinds of stuff and making sure that you got what you need. But like I said, you can use those, or you can use these ones that were custom making. So the other one is a verified view. So if we open it up, it says equals verified, and it's the exact same parameters down here as the other one. So what we can do here. What did you
say about the current control zone equals none?
Yeah, so that's going to pick up all your permitting stuff if it's outside of control zone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
That's that right there. So if you just wanted the stuff in the control zones, you could come in here, hit details, and you could take this clause out right here. Equals none. And it would only show you what's in the infected buffer or surveillance control zones. But I like it this way. But again, it's going to depend on how many prims that you have in that control area and what your workload is going to be every day on whether or not you want those, all together in one view. And that's what this view does. Or if you wanted them to separate them out to control zones versus outside of a control zone, which is usually going to be a permit. So
if you was trying to prioritize or something.
Exactly. So does that make sense? A little bit?
Yeah, a little bit at least.
Okay. So we're gonna add Alabama on or after. Let's back up to 25th, make it consistent. And we'll save that one as Alabama. And these are just all verified accessions.
That's where they move to after you verify them.
Correct.
Just to double check yourself.
You got it. Or if, something comes up and they're like, well, I can't find that accession. Well, they gives you another place to go look. Well, did I verify? I don't remember. I've done 347 of them today. I think the most I did when we were in Pennsylvania was 158 in a day.
I hope to not have to do that ever.
I was tired that day, boss. All right, so this is the one that we just made. But that's how I set those up, just because I can bounce. If I pull that not verified one up, that tells me what I need to do for that day. And then for the most part, it's going to pull in pretty much everything. And then if for some reason you don't, for some reason, you can't find in the session or something like that, you can always search, by a session number. And but for the most part, it's going to catch everything that's being messaged from the lab that is associated with those two test codes. Whether it has IAV or if it has flu in the name of the test. So it's like I said, it's a little bit broader catch than using the OID codes. And there's also what they call LOINC codes, which is even more specific, but that's way over my head, Randy.
I don't know what OID means either, and I don't want to know.
Well, Brian sent them to me, and he was like, "Oh, here's all the codes and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Dude, I have no idea what you're talking about." So anyways,
what about?
This is what your view would look like if when these accessions come in. You would have stuff right here, and then you would do it just like what we did before with that one accession. So your accession number would populate here, and you'd click on it, and then you would get that. You would get that. Let's just do this. Whenever you click on it, it would. Normally, you have to add the incident, and then you can do all that stuff. Most of that stuff should message in, but on the submission form, they need to be able to have the prim ID on there whenever they submit it to the lab for all of this to populate up, for EMRS to go and grab it and say, okay, yep, that matches up. And then it'll populate the prim, the business, and the investigation. It'll grab all that stuff. If not, then you have to go in there and put the prim name on there. And you'll see,
like right now, our messaging still ain't working.
I got you.
They've been working on it since Sunday, I guess. Anyway, so they are working on it, and it's supposed to start soon. But what about so like this new? Well, it's a FAD investigation currently, and those samples are on their way to the lab. that wouldn't show up yet, right? Because it's not associated with a zone. Right?
That is correct.
So I would
But
have to find that.
you're probably gonna have to find it. And but again, if it's not messaging, you ain't gonna find nothing.
Well, I'm hoping they get it fixed today. Fingers is crossed. That manual stuff. I don't even know if I did take notes when I think Noelia was telling me about it. I don't even know where I got notes stuck everywhere. I've been gonna go in and put it in a document, all my little notes, and I hadn't done that yet either. Anyway.
All right. So let's see. So that's MIM. And
That's
so
right now, yeah.
and then the other one that's being the FAD, that one hadn't been entered in yet into MRS. That's what you're saying?
Correct. I just actually found out about that. Hey, we have a high mortality samples is on the way to the lab, like literally 30 minutes ago. I was
Okay.
like, okay, I got to figure this out before it hits the fan worse.
All right. So on this one, this is the one that you've been working on, and we got our prim statuses. Yep. And so this is what you were talking about doing the zones and all that stuff on, right?
I did the zones on that one with that little wrench diagnosis thingy.
Perfect. Perfect. So this new
Upon
place,
Noelia's direction and request, by the way.
great.
Not on my own. In case she's
So,
wondering.
let's see what we got here. But I'm a little confused on what you told me earlier, but that's all right. I stay confused.
You're not more confused than me. That's it.
So this
Yeah,
is
the one that's on the way to the lab is up there with all those thousands of blue dots.
up here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, it is. Mm-hmm.
All right. So you haven't done anything with that prim at all?
Haven't touched it. Nope.
Perfect. Perfect. That's why I was getting confused, because I thought you'd already done that. I thought that you already had positive or non-negative results on the new one.
Just got told that signs and samples are on their way to the lab. And I was like, okay, that's going to have to be a FAD investigation. But anyway.
Right. Yep. Perfect.
As far as we went.
Now, what are you talking about permitting? Permitting in here, or permitting if this was positive?
Go back down. So see that blue dot on the edge of the surveillance zone?
Yep, right here.
Yep, that's a broiler breeder. And they
Okay.
want to take eggs to the one over there right above Clinton that's got the blue dash on it, because I've got it already under quarantine and investigation.
Gotcha.
But I hadn't done anything. All I've done to that blue dot on the edge is verify the
coordinates.
Yeah, the coordinates and the premises information.
Okay. Well,
because they literally had that one that with a dash on it. They literally had that listed as a backyard, and it was a hatchery.
gotcha.
Yeah, had to fix a bunch of stuff.
Well, let me show you a little trick, because and we can do it with this one because it doesn't look like it has a prim status. Yeah, it's just got an investigation. Let's see, what has it got on there? I don't think it has anything on there.
All I did on that one was verify the information last night.
Okay.
So I hadn't done anything to it yet.
All right. So because it is in the surveillance zone, you can go ahead and create the investigation on it, on that one. And that way you'll have two investigations. It's just going to be a surveillance zone investigation status, because you got to have the investigation before you can have the surveillance zone prim status on there. And there's a workflow that does that would probably be beneficial to you. And that's why I wanted to show it to you real quick. And
that workflow thingy.
Yeah, just because it will make your life a lot easier. Now, whenever you create the zones, all these workflows should work. The only time that if it doesn't work, you can use this backdoor workflow, or if you have new prims that are identified in those control areas, like, oh crap, we didn't have this one in there, or oh crap, we didn't have this one in there, and you
And
add
it's gonna
those.
happen way more than once
Yes.
that their
And
premises data is not right.
yeah, and so you can go in and you can use this flow to automatically create the investigation in those prim statuses. And that way, and you can do it from the map to where you don't have to go in there and click all the, create investigation, create prim status. You can do it, boom, lickety split, just off of the map if it's mapped correctly. But it happens almost every time. And so what you would do is you would go to the layers, and then you would find that zone that you're looking for and say, what's inside? And then you got Lisa's hobby farm, and then also Pittman Family
I
Farm.
hadn't verified that Lisa's, I hadn't verified that stuff yet.
Okay,
Only that Pittman one.
okay. So if you click it and then you see that this pops up, run a workflow right there.
Yep.
So then if you click that, you can use the create high path 2022 investigations.
But if this wasn't in the surveillance zone, when they
You
did a
wouldn't-
permit, it would automatically do it,
Correct,
right? Okay.
correct. Yeah. It would create an investigation on that. And see, boom, done. And then if I close that out and then you see that it's just blue right now, if I go to reload records and refresh my map, you can watch it go.
Squirrel.
Yep. Burp, 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 burp. And then now it's got an investigation. And then if we wait a little bit longer and let the process run and we reload the records again, it can take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. But then you'll see a little aqua, or not aqua, but a little lime green line across here, like you're seeing right there. That's the symbol for a zone prim status. So it's
Oh,
usually going to be
okay.
it's usually going to be a little blue line for the buffer zone, and it's usually going to be a little lime green line for the surveillance zone. And but after you create that investigation, about every 10, 15 minutes, the system goes in there and it looks and it sees that if anything's new, then it runs a workflow that creates prim statuses and stuff like that. So there can be anywhere from a 10 to 15 to 20-minute lag from the time that you create the investigation to the time that that workflow runs and the prim status is created automatically.
Okay, do I have to go in the prim status and link anything?
No, no.
Okay.
It's doing the exact same thing that you did with the big wrench button whenever you created these zones. But that one didn't get caught for some reason. And so when they don't get caught, or if you had new premises that you identified and then you put GPS coordinates and they show up on the map, then you can go and you can select those and you can run that workflow, and then it'll automatically create those those investigations and prim statuses to where you don't have to do it manually. We ran into that a lot in Pennsylvania because stuff was moving all the time.
Yeah.
So I show you that you don't have to use that, but that is something that you can utilize to make your life a little bit simpler. And as Cammie Johnson would say, I'm not a woman, but she always called it the lazy woman's way. That's the lazy man's way. Make the system
like
work
it.
make the system work for you.
I'd rather work smarter, not harder.
That's right. But we can come back to that and look at it in a minute and see what it does. And then you see it didn't do anything to this backyard over here because you said you hadn't verified it. So I didn't select it to run the workflow on. But if you wanted to, after you verified it and you wanted to create that status, you could do the exact same thing. Go here, click there, run the workflow, click that and run it, and it'd do the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think any of those backyards are current. I don't think they're active. But I do have a list of 4 backyards that are active, and I haven't even put them in yet.
But you see right here, if we went to that investigation that we just created, and then we go and we look under prim statuses, and there's not any yet, and that's just telling me that the system hadn't picked it up yet. So sometimes you got to be a little patient with the zone prim statuses, anywhere from, I say 10 to 15 minutes, but it could be 15 to 30 minutes. So it's one of those things you push it, you run it, you go on about the rest of your day and come back and double check it later on that, later in the day, and make sure that your map looks good. But a lot of times I like to manage it visually. For me, I can understand stuff a little bit better whenever I'm looking at it on a map, if that makes sense. And especially knowing, and then once you know what all the little symbols mean, then you can just glance at the map and go, okay, what's the problem with this one? Why doesn't it have the little green slash on it? And then that's how you can go in and QC your stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm probably getting the cart way before the horse on this one. But let's take a look, and I'll show you kind of what I do on like if I have a suspect like what you have right now. I don't know if we went through this. I think we kind of went through it the other day. But do you have a prim ID for that for the place that's being tested right now?
Want me to try to get one?
Well, I mean, if you got an address or a prim ID, then you can do a lot of the legwork right now of, you can either improve or relax the pucker factor for everybody involved. And at least gather information based on what is in EMRS. So you can go in and say, okay, if this turns out to be positive or non-negative and it's confirmed, then this is how many prims we're going to have in a control area. So we need to start looking at this and ramping up a permitting team and doing this and, that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So if you have an idea, if you know where the prim is located, then you can go on that map and I can show you how to grab those numbers real quick. And that way, whenever somebody asks, well, how many commercial prims are going to be in that control area? If it's positive, you can say, well, if you want to know, I can tell you it's blah, 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 blah. And that way you're that much ahead of the curve and you're not scrambling once you get results back. And you're not doing, unless you save what you do on that map, you're not going to change that map at all. But you can use the map to your advantage to be able to grab data really, really quick.
I sent a text to see if I can get the prim ID, so we'll see if I get an answer. Probably won't, but we'll see.
Okay. Or just an address. If you got an address, you can work with that.
I only know the county.
Well,
I know.
that's a start. Oh Lord. But
You want to pretend like it's one in Marshall County just for
yeah, we can do that.
okay.
All right. So guide me where I need to go.
Go towards 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Now go exactly right. Keep going. Cross the river. Down. Probably right in there somewhere.
All right. Let's just choose this one for poops and grins. 05G in Crossville. All right. Well, do you know what company it is?
Yeah.
You do?
I do not.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Because I want to show you another cool little thing. Like if you had a general idea that it was in this area and you knew the company, you can hit shift and then drag. And it's going to give you a list of everything that you just highlighted. And then you could go over here and look and maybe make a better guess based on the
Gotcha.
corporate account.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. So let's say it's this one right here, West Farm.
That's Geraldine, that's DeKalb County, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Where I need to be?
Down some, I think, or southwest a little bit. Albertville will be somewhere around there.
Albertville?
Is, well, that's Marshall County for sure.
Okay. So let's just do this one right here, right below Albertville. Oh, that's processing plant. That's not going to be positive.
Yeah,
How
I
about
expect them.
All right. Smith Farm. We're going to go with Smith Farm. All right.
Okay.
So we're going to pull up our coordinates. So here's our coordinates right here. I'm going to grab this and just pull it on my other screen just so I can work with it. But what I will do is I'll go in here and I'll put a new from radius layer and just put possible, you can label it whatever you want, possible control area. And then what I'm doing on this screen is I'll copy, paste, and copy, paste. We'll do a 10K. And this is just a down and dirty. We just know that this will be caught up in a control area. If you wanted to, you could make a 1, you can make a 3, you can make a 10, but this is a down and dirty. Let's see what's in here. And then after that, if I want to visualize it, I can look at it. But if I go back to the layers and say what's inside, you got 2 backyards, you got potentially 52 commercials.
Yeah, that sounds like my house.
Yeah. And then you can export that to a CSV. And then once let's see if it'll open. And it popped up on my other screen. So once you open it, then you can insert table. And that'll give you headers to where you can actually go in here and you got your little drop downs and then you can filter that way if you wanted a better count of what's in there. Or you could insert a pivot table and then pull into here premises and species group. No. Production type, maybe production type. And need to put that over there. And then that'll tell you right there. Let me pull species group out. 7 broiler breeders, 3 pullets, 1 hatchery, 4 broilers, and 1 processing plant. That tells me there's going to be a crap load of freaking permits because of the processing plant and the hatchery. So based off of that random prim that we pulled in that county. But that's how you can use the map, and you can grab that data, throw it in an Excel file, make you a filterable table, and then a quick pivot table, and that boom right there. In less than 5 minutes, you got all that information.
Oh, smart.
Well, unfortunately, I did that a lot last year. I found that instead of going in here and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm like, okay, we got to come up with a different strategy on this.
Gotta be a better way.
Yeah. So I learned a lot of that stuff from Val. So she's a freaking little wizard with Excel. And she'd get way too excited. I'm like, look, I just need a baby step pivot table. Let's not get crazy.
Pivot tables have always confused me. So
and well, I just start dragging stuff in those little boxes down at the bottom till it makes sense to me, till I get what I want.
I just learned like a whole lot real quick. That's what pivot tables kind of do.
Yep. So then what we can do whenever you get done, like if this comes back negative, you just delete that layer off of there, and then it's gone. And then yeah, or you could just close the map, without saving it, and it would be gone when you open it back up. If that makes sense. Because unless you go up here and say save, like that, anything that you do on this map is not going to be available. And as you're working on this map, if somebody else pulled it up and you're in the process of, creating control areas or doing stuff on the map, they're not going to be able to see what you're doing until you save it, if that makes sense.
But the workflows save, all that saves, right?
Correct.
Reload.
Look at there. We got our little dot on there now.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I'm Dash.
Yep.
How pretty.
Whenever I have dashes on everything, then I'm happy. And then the other thing that you'll see on here, if you do have, whenever you verify a sessions at a place, then a Navy star will come on there. If you have a session on a place so you can look at the map, you'll have an aqua star that tells me that you got a sessions that you haven't verified. So you got your list and your view that you made, but you can also double check it with the map, which is pretty cool.
I do like to visualize with maps.
Yep. And just a quick scan, you can tell, oh, okay, why am I missing that one? And then you can go back and you can double check, well, why didn't it pull on my view? So it's a checks and balance on that thing. So then you usually end up having to try to dig and try to find out, okay, well, oh, they messed this up, to put the wrong prem ID, or they did something or whatever, so.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So when they take stuff to the lab, do we need some sort of special, okay. So if messaging's working correctly, we don't need a special submission form or anything like that, right?
It all depends on what's currently on your lab submission form. Prem ID and that type of stuff. If it's not on there, then you might want to look at adding that or amending that lab submission form, or doing a special one. But if it's or having some way to differentiate, the reason for the testing, a lot of labs don't have that on their submission form. So if you can look at the submission form and figure out if there's a place to put prem IDs and a place to kind of differentiate whether it's permit testing or whether it's control area testing or something like that, that might help, kind of streamline things. I mean, there'll be some hiccups and stuff like that. But if you look at that from the get-go and start having those conversations right now, you'll be that much more ahead of the curve, and you'll have less hiccups and stuff like that down the line, especially when the state's trying to figure out. This is what we ran into in Pennsylvania. The state was trying to figure out how many tests were done associated with high path and how many tests were done associated with just normal regular NPIP stuff. And their LIM system, their lab information management system, wasn't able to pull those numbers separately. So that was something they kept coming to me asking for. And after I looked at it 15 different ways, I'm like, guys, I said, we can't pull that information out of here just because of the way that it's messaged in. You'd have to capture that like on the lab submission form or something like that, or in their LIM system. Does that kind of make sense? Because
it's not standard.
Most of the time it's not. And so in all, labs are a little bit different with their submission forms. And I know, like Louisiana, I've had this conversation with them, and there would be no way to track that on their current lab submission form. And I've had that conversation with them, and they're like, well, if it comes to it, then we'll figure it out. And I'm like, okay. But those are just things that we've tripped on in other states, just kind of lessons learned, because the USDA is going to want an accounting for all of those tests and everything that's been done. And it's just a little bit cleaner if the lab can separate, that type of stuff out, because it's usually going to be emergency cooperative agreement money that pays, the lab's bill for all of that stuff.
I need to, what do I do? How do I find out if
Do you have the lab sub for that lab?
I have a general MPIP one?
Okay.
Or, well, actually I might. Let me see. Because I think it's a poultry submission form. But we also use a different one for like MPIP. Would it be? Which one would it be?
Uh,
Looking, hold on.
yep.
So I guess this is the submission form, but it's not the one we use for just plain old.
Yep.
There's another one like that we use too. And whether that, no, this is it. This is it. Because they
Yeah.
put the tubes.
Yeah, that looks good. I think they're in
If
pretty
they
good.
actually put that.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think they're good, because that's going to be the form that your commercial guys are going to be filling out, right? Whenever they're submitting surveillance samples.
So it would pick up what on here? That
Yeah,
it
about
was.
about the only thing that you might want to maybe hijack a field or something up at the top. Because you got MPIP, AI clean, auction, fair, show, upland game bird, table egg layer. Let's see, collected by, it's maybe that you could either hijack or get them to write on there the reason for testing or something like that, surveillance testing versus sick bird testing, something to that effect. But if you got two different forms, then you're probably in good shape. They should be able to track that between the two. But unless you're using this for MPIP stuff too, which it looks like you are.
This is well, it says AI Newcastle, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. So it just depends on, I guess, like what they're taking off of this form to enter it into the,
Limb system. Yeah.
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 So that would be what. So we would hope that they're entering the prim ID and then the test reason.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
And if you can do that, then it'll be clean as a whistle whenever they get done. They can pull a report from their limb system and say, this is how many tests we ran because of this, or how many tests we ran because of that.
All right. So say it is a few days before messaging works. Then what? I just have to, they got to send me a copy of all the PDF results of everything associated with the incident. So I have to do it all manually.
Yeah, so you got one or two options. And if they, if it's a couple of days before they get messaging working, once they get it working, I would request that they go and they message everything, from whatever date back, whenever they get it working. they still need to send you the PDF version of the accession, right? Because you're going to have to hang that in the LMS.
That's what I had to do with the infected premises
Right,
because it didn't come through.
right. So you can either create them manually, but if there's at a point where they are start messaging, then everything's going to message through. Okay. So you could either create the shell like we did before, or if you just wanted a place to go put it, or you could wait till it all messages through and then just use the message to session as normal, if it's only a couple of days before it comes through. So you got two options at that point. You can wait
Why
it
are
out.
these come through, but the other one didn't?
Let's see. What, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's strange. I don't know what the deal is with the messaging at that lab. It looks like they are messaging some stuff through. I don't know why the other stuff isn't. Did you search for that accession again?
Well,
For the,
I just been going to the looking at that one. I hadn't looked at anything else, so I just been doing this, trying to look for it to see if it come through. Well, wrong thing. Dang it.
man,
My brain's all over the
you getting swift, girl.
Let's see.
Yeah, there you go.
So it
Yeah.
still ain't showing.
Nope, it never did message through. And the other thing that you might want to do is take that, just copy that accession number at the top, just highlight it, copy it. Now go back to your LMS accession view. And then put it in that search box and just make sure just that one pops up. Yeah. Nope. Just the one that you created is the only one that's showing up. That's weird. Tell them to talk to I don't know who the lab is talking to, but Kelly Alms is a really good
It's Kelly.
yeah, she's a really good reference for the NOM stuff.
No, it ain't. It's Kelly Turner. Says Kelly Turner handles our non-messaging for the lab. She reached out to her IT contacts to see why our message was not visible in Emer's yesterday. Okay, that may be a Kelly from, yeah, that's a Kelly that works in the Auburn lab.
I got you.
So your Kelly is probably one of those IT contacts for non, right?
Yeah, she works for us, and she's the NOMS one of the NOMS coordinators for USDA, and that's Kelly Alms, ALMES. So if they keep running into a dead end, they might want to reach out to her and see if she can help. She's really good. She's in Kansas. She's a classmate of old Cody Gardens. They were lab partners.
Funny.
Yeah.
Ain't the world a small world? Because me and Givens was anatomy lab partners.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a small little family, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But well, good deal. Well, I think you're poised to be set up for success at this point. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this is a negative accession going into the lab today. And this was just all preparatory work for future deployments, not in Alabama.
That would be good. Well, I told Misty, our assistant state vet, I was like, we got to get our act together before this expands or blows up.
Yeah, and if it popped in that county, that's not gonna be good, Brandy.
Yeah.
So the other thing that Scott and those guys need to be looking at, you'll be trying to get the birds dead, but you also on to the side, you need to be looking at continuity of business. And you got a little time, but not much when you're dealing with broilers, and especially if you got a slaughter plant and a hatchery that's associated with a control area. Probably need to be reaching out to Archer and getting that company set up, or companies set up with the gateway, so they can start. And what I've seen is with that gateway, the companies can overwhelm the state and USDA's ability to be able to process those permits. So they're usually pretty good at putting stuff in. So there's also going to be a little bit of a lift on the USDA and state side to make sure that you have trained people to process those permits as they come through. Pennsylvania was an example of what was
not to do.
pretty much. So they were ill prepared for that. And permitting is not hard, but it can be a little cumbersome understanding the terminology in EMRS. And I would strongly suggest that everybody use EMRS. Don't try to use your own system, because if you use your own system, at the end of the day, all that stuff has to be entered in the EMRS, and you end up doing 2 and 3 times data entry. The whole purpose of the gateway and using EMRS is that the companies do the majority of the data entry on that stuff. And so you just have people that are looking at it, pushing buttons, and it's going through a process,
So
But
what about other views? What other views would you have as a DRO? Like case manager 214s maybe, right?
yeah. Let's see. All right. Let me show you. And I set up all of my views to where whenever I open it, that tells me the work I need to do. And because I don't like a lot of clutter, So let me show you what I'm doing with the case manager 214s. So, and you remember where they live, right? They live under resource management. The 214 daily folks. Okay.
Yeah, I had to go in and link Julie's, because she's been good about linking it to her tally sheet, but she didn't today, so I had to go in her resource and find it and link it.
We'll show you. Look, I'm gonna show you a trick on this one because it's not linked. Unless you don't want it. I think that was a duplicate. Never mind. So I'm gonna show you a trick that I learned.
Tricks.
Yes.
Okay, my husband literally just texted me a while ago, and I didn't read it till just now. And he said, "Did the AI test positive in Asbury?"
He knows more than you.
I know. He works at the dang farmers co-op. He's the store manager.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I guess it's an Asbury. Anyway, continuing on.
Yeah. So if you got it and it's not linked, you already have the prim ID up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can just type in 00M1F7L and hit boom.
Oh. Well, how about that?
Lazy man trick that I learned. So that's all you got to do. Just type in the prim ID right there and hit tab, and it'll automatically link it.
Yeah, I've been like trying to keep a sticky note with that dang thing wrote on it so I wouldn't have to look it up. I didn't know I could do that.
Well, I learned that towards the end of last year, and I figured this would be a good time to share that with you.
I like to learn stuff the easy way instead of the hard way.
All right, so this is how this is so all right, this is how I like to set mine up. I set them up to where, whenever you look at let me back up. When you look at the tally sheet, it includes updates and the tally sheet updated. So whenever you open that one up, you have yes, she pushes that through. She doesn't see this. This is for you right here as a DRO. So once you go in and you open this up and you look at the tally sheet, you compare the information and you update that tally sheet, you go in here and you change that to yes. Okay.
Okay. So you know which ones you've actually updated the tally
Right.
sheet on.
Right.
20.
So that's the reason that I set mine up like this. So if this is no, see, that's not the one I want. This one, this is mine. That's Brian's. If it says if it says a tally sheet updated no, it'll show up in this view. So that's my work for the day. Does that make sense? And then once I hit yes, then it drops off this view. But then I have another view with all the tally sheets. So I kind of set it up like the LMS. So the not verified is my work. And then I have a verified view in case I need to go back and look at it. And then I have the tally sheet equals updated equals no. That's what the no tally sheet in parentheses means in the name. And then I have one with all the tally sheets. So those are the two views that I use for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll make you.
I'm recording it, so.
Okay. we'll make you this one too. And we'll go back to the
25th, right?
25th. We'll go from Minnesota to Alabama. Save as. All right. And then let me go here. Yeah, so these are, this view just shows all of the minutes, if they have yes on there. So you see all the yeses. So that after you hit, so they'll either be in one or two views. They'll either be in the no view or the yes view. But this view right here should capture all of the case manager 214s for Alabama, period. Yes, and yeah, this is going to catch all the yes and the no's, actually. There's not a filter on there for that. So this will be all tally sheets, or all case manager 214s. So these will be all of your active daily 214 logs created on or after in 25, 23. All right. Fresh. Go here, save views, Alabama, share. There you go. So now you should be set. So my tempo that I normally use is first thing in the morning, and it all depends on your case managers and how quickly they get stuff in. But in a normal incident, first thing in the morning, because there's usually a data cutoff for sit reps on a daily, if they're being done on a daily basis or whatever. So I usually try to get the case managers to get their case manager 214s from the previous day entered by, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock the following morning. So that's the first thing that I do in the morning is I go through the case manager 214s and I update the tally sheets. That way, most current information is available for the sit unit for data pool. Once I do that, then I go usually start with verification of LMS sessions, and I'll bounce back and forth between that. And then depending on what's happening during the day, if there are new suspect cases, then I'll do the little workup with the map. I might stop and do that for a little bit. And then, but the LMS sessions usually are the gift that keeps on giving, and they usually don't go away until you verify. So, but that's kind of a normal day for me but I usually try to start the day off and kind of set that tempo with ops. And that's why I'm usually coming over there and telling you, hey, can you get your people to get their case manager 214s in? That's the reasoning behind it. So,
Gotcha.
But
Well,
anyway,
it's Julie Snelly, and she sucks at like getting stuff in on time. I tell her and tell, yeah.
Sweet Julie.
But,
Well, very good. Well, look, I gotta run and go take my daughter somewhere. And
I appreciate you so much.
You bet.
Virtual hug.
Yes. But holler if you need something or something doesn't make sense, and fingers crossed and praying for a negative for you with that test. So
I'll watch this video a few times and maybe it'll stick. I'll listen to it on repeat while I'm asleep, and it'll go in my subconscious.
There you go. All right, baby. We'll holler at you later on.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.